moved to US when I was 7 years old. But I think like in the middle of high school, we started like had a really tragic event in my family. Just one of my closest, like he's not my real uncle, but we called him uncle. He passed away tragically. He was actually killed. And so that was a really difficult time for everyone in my family, and for me as well. And I think, and then so like that kind of shaped my thought process of God in general. Of just like it was, I just didn't understand why something like that would happen. So like I just didn't want to know who God was, even if there was one. I just was like kind of shut that door for a while. It felt like every religion, including my family's, it's like a step ladder to God. Like do this and you get closer to God, and now do the next thing and you keep like working your life towards this God, and like having this relationship with him, whoever that God is. But Christianity was the one religion is like, I'm up here, you can't get to my level in your own merit, so I'm gonna send my son down to show you who God is and bring him down to your level, and not even at your level. I'm gonna bring him lower than you. I'm gonna he's gonna die for what you deserve, so you can come up to me.
Friends, we're going to have a chat with Dhrumil and get to know more about his story. Please welcome and join me in this conversation. Hi, Dhrumil.
Hi, how's it going?
Please introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your childhood.
Sure. So my name is Dhrumil Shah. I'm married with 3 kids, ages 10 through 4. And yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Hindu household in India, in Bombay, India. My family's Gujarati. And we moved to US when I was 7 years old. And yeah, I just remember like childhood, elementary years being really difficult because just like being in a new country, what I remember from elementary years, like new language, new country, just being made fun of a lot in my elementary schools. Like that was really hard, and just feeling isolated with like what coming from a different country. So that was really hard. And I remember my family, like we would go to pujas a lot. We had like pujas for like different things, like when with extended family, like if somebody had a new car, a new house, like we would always have stuff like that. I never really understood what it meant, but I remember we did that a lot and went to temple a couple times a year as well.
Sure, that was probably a big change for you now. Can you also tell us a little bit about your high school, college years?
Yeah, so I think because of like the isolation and just like feeling like, kind of separate from what happened in elementary years and middle school. High school, I was just really shy. I remember that. I started getting into sports, like ran track in high school and was playing basketball as well. And really just, it kind of like helped me to just find something for myself. But I think like in the middle of high school, started like had a really tragic event in my family. Just one of my closest, like he's not my real uncle, but we called him uncle. He passed away tragically. He was actually killed. And so that was a really difficult time for everyone in my family, and for me as well. And I think, and then so like that kind of shaped my thought process of God in general. Of just like it was, I just didn't understand why something like that would happen. So like I just didn't want to know who God was, even if there was one. I just was like kind of shut that door for a while after that happened. And I think towards the end of high school, started like got introduced to alcohol and started like coming out of like my shy zone and like getting into like drinking a lot, and then in college like started getting into drugs, and it just like different things came up, and it just felt like I just kept filling my life up with these things because it just felt like that was the thing to do and the popular thing to do.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us can relate to what you're saying. So what prompted you to explore more about your own faith, your own beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, basically, it was one specific person. His name is Jay. We met each other through basketball at UConn. We played a lot of basketball together our freshman year. Sophomore year, we ended up being on the same floor at a different dorm, which was completely orchestrated by God. And then so we got closer, just going to play basketball together. So like each year, like we just grew closer. And then junior year, I learned that he was involved with InterVarsity, which is a Christian ministry at college, and Young Life, which is a high school Christian ministry. So like I learned about that, and like we would have conversations. And I just remember one specific day I was talking to him. He kept inviting me to go to InterVarsity, and I kept saying no. I'm like, my family's Hindu. Like, I'm never going to come to one of these things. Like, stop asking. But I remember one night specifically, like we were playing. I was talking to him about this girl from home, and like just I was frustrated about something, and he was like, "Hey, sounds like you're kind of frustrated. Why don't you just come to InterVarsity with me tonight and come hang out, and like maybe you'll just get your mind off of this person." And I kind of just lost it. I was like really frustrated. I was like, dude, I'm never gonna come. I'm never gonna open a Bible. I'm never gonna like go to a church. Like you just need to drop it. Like you stop asking me. And I said it in a much worse way than what I just said. And I felt really bad. I felt like I just like ruined a friendship by what I said. And what spoke volumes to me is the next day he came into my room and he's like, "Hey, let's go play basketball." It was like something that just like I always remembered of like, there's something different about this guy. Like he, instead of going to the bars and like getting drunk and doing what normal college people are doing, he's going to hang out with high school kids and middle school kids and doing ministry. And even just this one experience with him of like how he could just let it go and just be like, it wasn't that big of a deal to him. I did start like having conversations with him. I think, a couple of weeks after that incident, I was in his room and his friends were coming to go over a Bible study with him. And he like told me, he's like, "Hey, if you want to go back to your room, I understand. I just want to let you know." And I just decided to stay there and kind of listen to what they had to say. And that like started a series of just conversations. Like we would go to the library to study, but then we ended up talking about God for like a few hours and like just asked a lot of questions. And I think that turned into like conversations with him. And then for me to be faced with like, I want to understand what my family believed. I want to understand now. Like I've asked questions before. I haven't gotten many answers, but like I'm here, I'm in college. I have a lot of resources in our library. Like, let me just do the research. And so I just started researching specifically what my family believed and then other world religions, and then specifically Christianity and what he was talking to me about. And just, that's what like sparked everything.
Yeah. It's always great to have a friend like Jay and to talk about the important things in life, right? And now, as you were researching many faiths, right, what stood up differently about Jesus?
I think two things. One was, I think like I mean, in a very high level summary, it felt like every religion, including my family's, it's like a step ladder to God. Like do this and you get closer to God, and now do the next thing, and you keep like working your life towards this God and like having this relationship with Him, whoever that God is. But Christianity was the one religion is like, I'm up here, you can't get to my level in your own merit. So I'm going to send my son down to show you who God is and bring him down to your level. And not even at your level, I'm going to bring him lower than you. I'm going to he's going to die for what you deserve. So you can come up to me. And that was the kind of the main thing that really attracted me. And then the second thing was just the resurrection. Like I tried to like read a lot about, okay, this is a factual event. It's not from even non-Christian sources. So like, did this really happen? So like doing, I wasn't like trying to disprove it. I was just trying to understand just through like evidence, like, did this really happen? And everything that I came across was like in my own research was like this was an event that happened. And I couldn't disprove it in my mind based on all the research I was finding. And I think those two things like really stood out of like who Jesus was.
Yeah. And these are some good observations. Even people who are born and raised in Christian families completely miss.
Yeah.
Now, what prompted you to surrender your life completely to Jesus Christ?
Yeah, I mean, I remember like during this research, my friend, like we had we lived in this dorm where there was somebody, I didn't know her that well. I don't even remember her name, but she was a TA that like didn't drink, was really healthy, and she passed away at college my junior year. Mm-hmm. And there was like a whole big thing. There was a candlelight vigil and everything. And what I learned about her is like she was really healthy. She did a lot. She ran marathons, and she actually passed away while she was going on a jog. Her heart just stopped. And what they found out about her was she had a heart issue when she was really little, and they did some surgery to get it fixed, and there was no issue since. And then all of a sudden in college, this happened. And I just remember through that experience, Jay and I were talking again one night, and he just came into my room and he's like, look, kind of like what you just said, many Christians and many Christians may not even know as much as you do right now with the information that you know. Mm-hmm. But he was very clear. He's like, but you haven't walked through the door. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to push you through this door. No one can push you through this door. It's your decision. Mm-hmm. And God forbid something like this happened to you. I just want you to know exactly where you are. You're not through the door yet. And then he read Revelations 3:20 to me, which was here where Jesus is talking, and he says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. Mm-hmm. If anyone eats with me, I will eat with him." And that verse, kind of stopped me. I was like, okay, I need to make a decision. I still didn't make a decision that night, and I think the next day I was thinking about that verse. And I was just like, I need to make a decision, yes or no, and just be okay with it tonight. Mm-hmm. And that's the night that I decided to accept Christ.
Yeah. I think it's God's unique plan to place you in a situation like this and draw you closer to Him.
Yeah.
Right. So talk to me about some of the immediate challenges that you experienced once you started following Jesus.
Yeah, just some of the habits and the things that I had. I had a really foul mouth, and I think that was pretty quick. I knew right away, I need to change this. This is not okay anymore. I need to be more graceful with how I speak, and stop cursing and things like that. So that was pretty quick to be able to stop doing that. The other one that was more difficult was it was more because of the friends that I had built up the first couple of years in college. We had a normal routine, Thursday through Sunday, going to the bars and hanging out together, and drinking a lot together and partying together. So that took a while to get out of my system. I think I went back and forth a little bit of I have this new life now, and I want to learn about God, and I started helping Jay out with his high school and middle school ministry. So I did that, but then I felt like I was turning my back on my friends. So it took a while to come to the group, a confident decision of it. I don't want to be involved in this anymore because it's not something I enjoy anymore. And I need to so I had conversations with my non-Christian friends that I had built up to let them know the decision I had made and how I'm not gonna just spend it. So it took about a year to kind of go through that type of yeah.
But even that transformation was brought by Jesus, right? Yep. And that's amazing to hear that. Now, if you were to summarize all this journey in a single line, how would you do that?
I think it's the song that, and it's kind of funny. There's a little bit of a story behind it. So just the most, from John Wesley, the Amazing Grace, grace how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, and now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. And I think I always knew that song even before I became a Christian through movies I had seen, or just I don't even remember. It was such a popular lyric. And I remember the one of the first church services that I went to after I became a Christian, they sang that song. Wow. And I was like, oh, this like makes sense to me. Like now I understand what he's talking about. But I think that in itself like summarizes the journey because, as we talked about, I think through my childhood, like being hit with the isolation and feeling lonely of coming to a new country, and then slowly starting to fill my life up. Some of the things were good, like sports, trying to get good grades, but then it turned into alcohol, drugs, girls, and like trying to get this popularity. Like all of those things that kept filling my life up with, like just kept me blind. It wasn't, it didn't give me the true, genuine joy that, or belonging that was there with. And once I understood the reality of how God created me and Jesus came here to die for me, that completely filled that void in the way that it filled what I've been looking for this whole time in other things. And I think that's like that lyric kind of completely summarizes that.
Yeah. Jesus is always looking for those who are lost, and he searches for them, right?
Yeah.
And such a loving God. Now, you have now been a follower of Jesus Christ for over 15 years.
Yep.
And talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, a good summary. What I was thinking about, like, there's a story in the Bible of when Jesus is walking on water, and then the disciples are in the boat, and they see him, and they're not sure who he is, so they get scared for a second. But then Peter realizes it's Jesus, and so anyway, Peter goes out. He says, "If it's you, let me come out and walk with you." So Jesus tells him to come out, and he's walking towards Jesus on water. But then all of a sudden, he takes his focus off of Jesus, and there's a storm, there's wind, and he starts drowning. And then Jesus reaches his hand and picks him up, and he says, "Why did you doubt?" And I think that summarizes like the 15 years. There's been a lot of trials and things that have come our way. Through like we've moved a couple of times. One was because I lost a job, and so there's just been a lot of things like that have happened that like I see myself as Peter trying to keep my eyes on Jesus, but like a lot of the things, a lot of the storms of life get in the way, so it's easy to take your focus off of him. But what's been great is the community that I have built through just the Church of Christ or the family of Christ, through the different places that we've lived. Like geographically, they may not be close, but like they're always there. And through all the things that we faced, and it's just the reminder of keeping your eye. They remind me to keep my eyes on Christ, and that's what's been awesome. And being my wife is not Indian. I'm married. We got married in 2007, and she's awesome example of who Christ is to me, and how we have like individually and corporately like worked through all of these trials together, and then just the family that we have.
Yeah, that's a reminder for us that Jesus is always with us, and he will never leave us and never forsake us.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share anything with your friends who are watching, right? Who are on a similar journey and wants to know more about Jesus. What would you say to them?
I think my challenge and encouragement to them is in a simple way, is to do the work. Because I think in my conversations with some of my family members, like the most common, and even just non-Christian friends, the most common answer that I've gotten of why they haven't given Jesus a chance or anything is because what they believe in has been either handed down to them through their family and through the traditions of just their culture, or it's something that they just don't like, and what they do believe they don't completely understand. So my challenge is take some time and do the research on your own. I'm not saying to believe in Jesus, but like, don't be a jury that makes a verdict on information that like you haven't actually sought out on your own. And I think a lot of people have made their decision about this person, Jesus, through the media, through whatever they've heard, secondary information, and they haven't taken the time to actually do the work. And I just, so my challenge and encouragement to them is to spend time. And Jesus was one of it's not an argument that he is probably the most influential person that ever lived, even if you don't believe in him. So you owe it to yourself to understand who he actually was and what he actually claimed. I mean, it goes back to like a quote from C.S. Lewis, like, this person, Jesus, like, it was a real person, and what he claimed, he's either a liar, he's either a lunatic, or he's Lord. But those are the only three options. Like, you can't just say, oh, he was a really good teacher. Like, he claimed to be Lord. So like, do you believe that or not? So that's my challenge, to do the work to like make that decision and not let others make that decision for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing how Jesus touched your life, changed your life. This is an amazing story, and thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Friends, thank you for watching. Check out more videos at yeshusamaj.org. Thank you.